Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Johnson. I'm a first year master's student in the kinesiology department, and today we'll be discussing the effects of physical activity on affect and cognition in the following presentation. Before we jump into the details of this presentation, I want to give some definitions to help guide us through the information from the study. Inhibitory control refers to one's ability to regulate and restrain their responses to stimuli in their environment. Affect refers to the expression of emotional states, and a moderator is a variable that can influence the strength of a relationship between the independent and dependent variables. So, getting into the background of this study, research has noticed a rise in inactivity and mental health disorders since the recent COVID-19 pandemic. As a result of these changes, there is an increased need to determine behaviors that benefit mental health during stressful life circumstances where our affective levels may decrease. To date, research reveals enhanced cognitive performance and affect outcomes following a single bout of physical activity. However, the magnitude of these outcomes remains complex due to the multiple individual differences that can moderate or influence results. These individual differences can include age, sex, educational levels, or even positive affective levels. Interestingly, past research has shown positive affect as a mental context that is critical in regulating aspects of cognition. Therefore, the aim of the present investigation is to examine individual differences in affect as a moderator to inhibitory control following a single bout of physical activity. For this study, a total of 80 undergraduate students at UNCG, ages 18 to 34, enrolled in an upper level kinesiology course, completed this study as part of a class assignment in a laboratory setting. Students attended the lab for 1 hour on 2 separate days with the time of day held constant. The protocol for the lab visits was identical for each session, with the exception of physical activity and rest sessions that were counterbalanced. During the lab visits, they were fitted with a heart rate monitor watch, completed baseline measures of PANAS for affect, which is the positive and negative affect scale, and the flanker task to measure cognition. The PANAS included ranking feelings and emotions on a 5-point scale. Some examples include interesting, excited, and strong for positive affect, and ashamed, hostile, and upset for negative affect. Once these tests were completed, they engaged in 15-minute rest or physical activity sessions and then took the PANAS questionnaire and flanker task for a second time. During the 15-minute physical activity session, students were taken to a gymnasium adjacent to the lab and asked to engage in a self-selected aerobic exercise at a level 9, which is very light intensity, or greater on the rate of perceived exertion or RPE scale. During the 15-minute rest session, students were seated in the lab and instructed to study for class. For analysis, individuals were separated into low positive affect and high positive affect groups based on a median split of positive affect accomplished immediately prior to a bout of exercise. A median split is a method that turns a continuous variable like affective measures into a categorical one by finding the median of the continuous variable and putting those below the median in the low category and those above it in the high category. This technique prevents outliers from impacting the value that splits the data and can make the results easier to understand. Our results revealed changes in both affective levels and cognitive outcomes. First, we will look at changes in positive affect. For the following images we will be looking at, the blue color represents rest sessions and the yellow represents exercise sessions, with the darker shades as the high positive affect and the lighter shades representing low positive affect groups. When it came to affective levels, our results revealed a reduction in positive affect following rest for both groups and an increase in positive affect following exercise for the low affect group, where the high affect group had no changes after exercise compared to before. Moving into the cognitive outcomes, the image on the left here represents the flanker task reaction time. On the y-axis, we have reaction time, and the x-axis is broken up into before and after health behaviors. The high positive affect group, indicated by the solid lines, their reaction time decreased following both exercise and rest. However, the low positive affect group had significantly greater decrease following exercise compared to rest. The image on the right represents flanker accuracy. On the y-axis, we have accuracy percentage, while the x-axis is broken up into low and high positive affect groups. The high affect group had greater accuracy during rest session compared to the low affect group, which had greater accuracy during exercise session compared to rest. In conclusion, those with lower positive affect before engaging in a self-selected acute bout of physical activity experience greater subsequent cognitive and positive affect improvements. Therefore, inhibitory control is moderated by positive affect, suggesting that unhappy individuals experience greater mental improvements. The overall findings of this investigation highlights the need for future research to explore individual differences in mental states like positive affect as a possible mechanism to predict cognitive improvements following acute physical activity. Thank you.